Hello students and welcome to your English class. In today's class, I have a person whom you all are familiar with. Take a look at this picture. Do you recognize this person? You must have seen a few cartoons or TV serials based on this person. Yes, I suppose you have identified this person. It is none other than Tenali Raman. So in today's class, my dear students, let us study our lesson, Tenali meets Babur. Who was Babur? Let us find out in today's class. And what is the episode or what is this incident all about? Now a little information about Tenali. Who was Tenali? Tenali Ramakrishnan was an Indian poet, scholar, thinker and a special advisor in the court of Sri Krishna Deva Raya, who ruled from the current era 1509 to 1529. So you can see in this picture here, it is Tenali Raman and the king Sri Krishna Deva Raya. Who was Tenali Raman? He was a Telugu poet who hailed from what is now the Andhra Pradesh region, generally known for its folk tales which focus on his wit. Wit means a sharpness, quick thinking, and it is in a humorous manner or a funny manner. Now what happens in this story is what we will find out. Please turn over to page number 16 in your English textbook. Tenali meets Babur. Page number 16. Tenali Raman was a famous jester and poet in the court of Krishna Deva Raya, the king of Vijayanagara. Jester means, what do you mean by a jester? Jester is a person who is able to give frank observations or very witty answers in the court of a king. And for this reason, they are called as jesters. They are comical and they bring humor and lighten the mood in the court. So, Tenali Raman was known for his intelligence as well as his broad understanding and wisdom on many matters. So, Krishna Deva Raya was impressed by his intelligence and he made him a court jester. Many stories are told of his wit and wisdom. So, read about this adventure at Emperor Babur's court. Here you must understand that a jester enjoys the freedom of speech, of making fun of everyone in the court, including the king and on any matter. And he was never taken serious for those comical antiques of his, but he was intelligent enough to give wise advice to the king. So let us read more about this incident, how Tenali meets Babur. So let's begin with the first paragraph. The tales related to Tenali Raman's intelligence and wit had reached far and wide. So they also reached the Mughal court in Delhi where Emperor Babur ruled. Who was Babur? Babur was a Mughal emperor. What do you mean by Mughal? Mughal means they are descendants of Mongolia or the Mongol king Genghis Khan and Timur. Hearing about Tenali Raman, Babur wished to meet him and sent a messenger. Who is a messenger? A person who brings a message from his king to be delivered to another kingdom. When Babur's messenger reached Vijayanagar, Raja Krishna Deva Raya, the ruler, grew apprehensive. He thought that the Mughal emperor had sent his messenger to find an excuse to attack his kingdom. Please remember, Babur ruled in the northern part of India and Raja Krishna Deva Raya had ruled in the southern part or the Deccan part, and this place, Vijayanagar, is located now in Karnataka, but it is actually at the border of Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. Why did Raja Krishna Deva Raya grew apprehensive? Apprehensive means he became anxious, became curious to know why did King Babur send his messenger to Vijayanagara kingdom and asking for Tenali Rama. Because at that time battles were very frequent to dominate or to expand your empire, and therefore Babur ruled in the north and Krishnadeva Raya ruled in the south. So therefore, as kings of different kingdoms, they always had an enmity. But let's find out what happens or what is the message that the messenger brings along with him. The Raja was relieved when the messenger said, "Our emperor wants to meet Tenali Raman. Maharaj, please send him with me to the Delhi court." So here Babur was the king of the Delhi Sultanate, and this messenger came all the way from Delhi to Vijayanagara, that is in the south or the Deccan region. And King Krishna Deva Raya was relieved. Relieved means he was no longer feeling anxious or scared about what the message would be, because it was just a simple, humble request that Babur wanted to meet Tenali Raman, because he had heard about his wisdom and wit. The Raja agreed. He said, "Tenali, I order you to go with this messenger to the Mughal court and prove your mettle." Prove your mettle means to prove your worth. What is there to prove his worth? Was Tenali very strong? No, it was his intelligence, wisdom and his wittiness that he had to prove in front of Emperor Babur. Remember, the honor of our kingdom is in your hands. If you impress the emperor and get a reward from him, I promise to gift you 10,000 gold coins. So what does Krishna Deva Raya tell Tenali Raman? He tells him, the honor and prestige of our kingdom is in your hands. It is when you represent. It is just like how when you represent your school at some inter-school competition, the prestige and honor of your school is in your hands. In the same way, when Tenali Raman was asked to go and present himself in the Delhi court, the honor and prestige of Vijayanagara kingdom was in Tenali's hands. And the school expects you to win a prize or give a decent performance in front of the audiences. Likewise, here Krishna Deva Raya had kept great expectations about Tenali Raman, that he would not let down the kingdom, the honor of his king, as well as his own pride or his own worth. If Tenali Raman did succeed in impressing Emperor Babur, King Krishna Deva Raya had promised Tenali Raman that he would gift him 10,000 gold coins. What does Tenali Raman think about this request? Tenali replied, "I will not let you down, Your Majesty." He took up the challenge and he boldly reaffirmed to his king that he will not let him down. The next day, Tenali left with a messenger. When Babur heard that Tenali Raman had arrived, he said to his courtiers. What do you mean by courtiers? Courtiers are the counselors in the court. You all know he is a very witty man. However, if I find anyone laughing at his jokes, that person shall be punished. Babur was clever enough to warn his courtiers or his counselors that they should not laugh at any of the jokes that Tenali Raman cracks. Because if they do get impressed by his jokes, that means that Tenali Raman wins. Now what happens at the royal court? Let us find out. At the royal court, Tenali tried many antics, but no one smiled. What do you mean by antics? Antics means funny or unusual behavior. As you know, he was a jester and a poet, even a scholar. So with his wisdom and his comical ways, he made everybody laugh. But here, what happens at the court of Emperor Babur is what we'll find out. He said many amusing, witty and wise things, but to no effect. 15 days passed by, but all his efforts to make people laugh failed. Tenali understood that something was amiss. What do you mean by something was amiss? It means that something was wrong. How did Tenali come to know that something was wrong? Because no matter how hard he tried, he was unable to make the courtiers or the people in the court listening to him laugh or smile. So he found it quite unusual. So he sensed that they were warned beforehand, perhaps, not to smile or laugh at any of his jokes. How does Tenali turn about this situation? He has to overcome this situation, this tough, challenging situation, and try and impress the courtiers and the king, so that he does not let down the honor of his king, Krishnadeva Raya, as well as his own worth. He realized that the Mughal courtiers were deliberately keeping a somber face. Somber means looking serious. Deliberately means on purpose. They were purposefully not smiling, not laughing. Tenali knew that the defeat would mean losing prestige and honor for Vijayanagar, as well as his own position there. So he thought of a plan. Now what could this plan be? Let's read on. Babur was in the habit of going for a ride on his horse every morning. He would be accompanied by two of his ministers. The minister's job was to carry pouches of gold coins to distribute to the poor on the instructions of the king. Now Tenali Raman had seen or he understood about the daily routine of King Babur. Now let us look or let us read about how Tenali devises a plan or stitches up a good plan so that Babur is impressed by him. One day, Tenali disguised himself as an old labourer with a spade on his shoulder and a mango sapling in his hand. Disguise means you are not disclosing your own identity. You are dressing up as somebody else. See, look at this picture. He has a spade in his hand and a mango sapling. So this is how Tenali has disguised himself only to meet Babur and to impress him. Having surveyed Babur's route closely, Tenali found a spot by the Yamuna where he knew Babur would see him. Surveyed means he has already understood the daily routine of Babur. Yamuna is the river Yamuna. So now Tenali is in Delhi. So river Yamuna flows through Delhi. When Tenali spotted Babur approaching, he began to dig the ground. Babur was surprised to see an old man with a white beard planting a mango sapling. Now let us listen to the conversation that is struck between Tenali and Babur. He couldn't help asking. Who couldn't help asking? Babur. Why? Because he saw that the old man was digging a hole in the ground to place the mango sapling. Now let us listen to the conversation. Bade Miyan, what are you doing? Bade Miyan means dear old man. Jahanpana, I am planting a mango sapling, replied Tenali Raman. Jahanpana means your highness. It is in respect to the emperor. But Bade Miyan, Babur said, you appear quite old. Even if this sapling takes root, grows and bears fruit, what would you gain? Surely you won't be alive. So what does Babur say to the old man? Babur says to the old man, since you are old, you won't get to eat the fruits of this tree, because by the time it matures and gives fruit, you will be dead and gone. So what is the reply to this question? I am not planting it for my own sake, Jahanpana, but for others. I enjoyed the fruits of the trees planted by my father, and now this tree will bear fruit for those who live after me. That will be my reward. This is an intelligent answer by Tenali Raman disguised as an old man. Now let us see if Babur is impressed by this answer or not. I like your idea, Babur responded admiringly. You are a kind man who cares for others. Take these coins and plant more trees. The emperor asked his minister to give the old man a pouch containing gold coins. You can see the first minister is having a pouch in his hand. So he ordered his minister to hand over the pouch of gold coins to the old man. Accepting the gold, the old man bowed gratefully and said, May God grant the emperor a long life. You see, normally people get fruit many years after planting a tree, but I got it immediately. It shows that consideration for others definitely reaps a rich harvest. Reaps a rich harvest means brings great rewards. This is another reply on receiving the pouch of gold coins. He wanted the emperor to focus on the point that if we consider about others before considering about ourselves, that will be a better reward. Pleased by the old man's remark, Babur gave him another bag of coins. Again the old man said, You have really made this old man happy. While this tree, when mature, will bear fruit only once a year, you've rewarded me twice already. Babur replied, Well said. Again you deserve a reward. The tree gives fruit only once in a year, and only once in a year you are able to enjoy the fruit. But here, at this moment, in this situation, the old man has been rewarded twice already. So, in a year, if you are able to enjoy the fruit once, but the old man has already received his reward twice. So, listening to this, Babur again gets impressed by the old man's wisdom and gives him a third pouch. Now let us look at the reaction of his ministers after he has handed over the third pouch of gold coins. Babur replied, Well said. Again you deserve a reward. And Tenali received a third bag of coins. Alarmed, one of the ministers advised Babur, Your Highness, this old man appears to be quite wise. Let us move ahead before his petty utterances force you to empty your treasury right here. Petty utterances means words or sayings that are short and full of meaning because of what he said in all the three situations, in all the three circumstances. He had a short and sweet answer or reply to the king. Baba smiled and began to ride away. Then the old man said, Huzur. Huzur means he is calling out to the emperor. Just cast a glance at me once again. So, saying, Tenali removed his disguise and said, I am your humble servant, Tenali Raman. Realizing that he had been thoroughly fooled, Baba burst out laughing. I am not at all sorry for having rewarded you, Tenali Raman. You deserve it. You are every bit as intelligent and wise as I had heard. So, when the king was moving along with his ministers, Tenali calls out to the emperor, Huzur, take a look at me once again. And that is when he removes the disguise, the beard and the old hair that he had worn. And then Baba realizes that what he had heard about Tenali Raman was true about his intelligence and wit. Baba took Tenali to his palace and showered him with gifts. When Raja Krishnadeva Raya heard about Tenali Raman's triumph means victory. He too rewarded him with gold and property, and Tenali Raman became even dearer to the Raja's heart. He became even more loving and a good friend to his king. So, in this way, Tenali Raman again proved his mettle, his worth, his intelligence and his wisdom. With this, I come to the end of today's chapter. Now, let us look at the grammar section in your textbook. In today's class, we will study more about the subject and the predicate. When we frame a sentence, in each and every sentence, there is a subject and a predicate. What do you mean by a subject? Subject means a person or a thing. And a predicate means you are highlighting something about that person or thing in that sentence. Now look at the example. Reena is a smart girl, or the child jumped over the wall. In both the sentences, you have the subject. In the first sentence, it is Reena. Now what are you talking about Reena? Reena is a smart girl. So the other part of the sentence becomes the predicate. And in the second sentence, the child jumped over the wall. Here, the subject is the child. And what are you talking about the child? The child jumped over the wall. So, jumped over the wall becomes the predicate. So, in the above sentences, we name, that is, we identify some person and say something about that person. So, in both the sentences, we are speaking about that person. Apart from the person, what else remains in the sentence becomes your predicate. Now let us look at some of the rules. Every complete sentence contains two parts, that is the subject and the predicate. The subject is what or about whom the sentence is about, while the predicate tells us something about the subject. Look at this picture. The subject is about who or whom, and the predicate is the action that is being done in the sentence. Now let us understand a few rules. First, the subject of a sentence may be a noun or a pronoun. For example, oxygen is essential for life on earth. Now, what is the subject here? It is oxygen, and the remaining part of the sentence is the predicate. Next, in a sentence, it may be the subject. For example, it will bear fruit for those who live after me. So here, it is the subject, and the remaining part of the sentence is the predicate. Next, you have to be careful when sentences begin with there. There refers to the subject which is mentioned after it. Now look at the example. There were three kittens sleeping in the basket. The subject comes in the middle of the sentence after there. So here we are talking about the three kittens. Next. Sometimes the subject is understood and not mentioned. For example, please open the window. So here who is the subject? It is you. So I am asking you to open the window. Or in class when the teacher says, please sit down. So who is the subject? It is you. It is not mentioned in the sentence, but it is understood. Now you are able to identify the subject in a sentence. Now how do you identify the predicate in a sentence? Let us understand that. The predicate in a sentence tells us something about the subject. For example, the Mughal courtiers were deliberately keeping a somber face. So here the subject is the Mughal courtiers and the predicate is the remaining of the sentences. Deliberately keeping a somber face. So here you are talking about the Mughal courtiers, who is the subject. Now let us complete the exercise in your textbook. It is on page number 21. H. Circle the subject and underline the predicate in each of the following. 1. Tenali Raman arrived at Babur's court. Now identify the subject. You will circle it. I want you to complete this exercise in your textbook itself. So here the subject will be Tenali Raman and the predicate will be arrived at Babur's court. Second, the old man accepted the bag of gold from the king. Here the subject will be the old man and the predicate will be accepted the bag of gold from the king. Third, the Himalayan monal is the state bird of Uttarakhand. Here the subject is the Himalayan monal and the predicate is the state bird of Uttarakhand. 4. Kokila is the best bowler in our team. The subject is Kokila and the predicate is the best bowler in our team. 5. Asad and his mother love working in the garden. Your subject will be Asad and his mother and the predicate is love working in the garden. So with this I come to the end of today's chapter. Thank you for watching and I'll meet you next week with another chapter. Till then, take care.